On this installment of Creative Cabin Fever, which will be my last regular Creative Cabin Fever. If you've been watching my progression on Instagram, you will see that I now manage the Last Vinci, as well as being in the middle of launching a massive project called Supersonic Sand with the art hand Sean Corcoran, where we're doing visual artscapes, collaborating with electronic artists, which is really exciting. But I decided I wanted to do one more, and I wanted to give it to a local shining light. So I'm here to present to you Oran Byrne. Now, Oren released a brand new track yesterday. We're going to play it on the show. As you can see, the Spotify link is there in the interview for all to see. So we'll have a little bit of a sneak preview, even though it's out. But just give you a taster of what the man is capable of doing. Oren, it's absolutely a pleasure to have you on the show. How are you this Saturday?
Hi Rebecca, thanks very much for having me. I'm doing fine, and yourself?
Yeah, good. So, obviously, you just released this track yesterday. What does it feel like releasing in
Mhm.
lockdown is a question I like to ask people. So, how has that process been for you as an artist?
Well, I suppose you know, when this all started last March, I kind of took to songwriting again after kind of a hiatus, and it was only really in March of this year that I kind of kickstarted my music career. Um, so releasing during lockdown, you know, hasn't it's been no different from normal times to me. Um, I think we all need something to look forward to, something to lift the spirits a bit, But yeah.
Absolutely, Oren. So, obviously, one of the other questions I like to ask is, has lockdown changed your creativity at all? So, are you in a different creative process than you were previous to this? Now, you just mentioned that you hadn't been writing for a while, but outside of relaunching your creative juices, are you approaching things a little bit differently now?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was previously in a band when we disbanded in about 2019, which is kind of when I went on a hiatus. And then when March last year, when the pandemic began, I figured there's so much free time. So I was just writing song after song.
That's amazing that it's had such a productive effect on you and that you've just been creating so many songs. That's just incredible to me. So, obviously, there are so many questions I like to ask artists, and there's so many things I like to know about people. But one of the main questions is, how did you find your craft? So, how did Oren discover this is what he wanted to do with the rest of his life? What was that moment that made you go, your gateway drug into the rock and roll industry?
Well, for most of my childhood, there was a lot of things I tried, and I would always lose interest very quickly. Um, then when I was about 14, I discovered the guitar, and I got a few lessons with that. And it was just something I just thought, like, this is so cool. Like, I can play these songs now and perform them. Um, and so that's kind of where it began. I like my days of listening to the latest pop on the radio came to an end. I started to discover some of the best bands that there is to offer, and then when I was about 15, I started songwriting.
That's amazing. So, who would be your top inspirations from 14-year-old years?
Uh, I think one of the first bands I got into properly was probably the Red Hot Chili Peppers. They had a significant impact on me, and really made me want to continue to play the guitar. Um, then I found a massive love for the Beatles and the Arctic Monkeys, two bands which I still listen to regularly and love to this day, and they're definitely my biggest inspiration in songwriting.
Okay, so let's ask the tough questions. What's your favorite Chili's album? What's your favorite Beatles album? And what's your favorite Arctic Monkeys album? I have mine ready to go, by the way. So I have two of them ready to go. Actually, I don't really know what
You
I'll
could
say for the Beatles. Yeah.
Okay, you could ask me this on a different day, and I could probably give different answers. But as of today, I would say favorite Chili's album. By the way, um, the Beatles probably. It's kind of it's a tough choice between either Revolver or Rubber Soul. Arctic Monkeys. Um, it's either Humbug or Suck It and See, but I feel more drawn to Humbug.
Okay, so like for me, Red Hot Chili Pepper is like One Hot Minute because Dave Navarro's on that, and I am in love with that man since I'm 10 years old. And the day we meet, like, we're actually gonna fall madly in love, get married, and I'll be moving away. Dave, this is your moment. And then for the Arctic Monkeys, it would be AM. That album was on repeat in my house for about 6 months solid. I could not get enough of it. Every single song on that is just. And then obviously Josh Homme helping with that really, I think, changed the sound a lot and made it a lot different. The Beatles, I'm going to go with the best of because I cannot think of a single album that has everything I want in it. So yeah, that's fun. It's great, isn't it? Like how bands like completely affect your whole entire life. Like music changes us. It marks chapters in our lives. It's magical.
Absolutely. It's the soundtrack to our lives.
It is the soundtrack. Have you ever made your soundtrack on Spotify actually? Because mine's up there for all to see.
How do you mean soundtrack?
Yeah, so I came up with this weird nutty concept about 2 years ago. I was dating someone and I was like, I want to know what your soundtrack sounds like. And he was like, what? And I was like, will you make me the soundtrack of your life? Like, will you go on Spotify and make me a playlist right now of your life so far? So I made my playlist. It took about 3 days and it starts like with infancy in it. It goes through like loads of songs. I need to update it actually because it's changed a lot in the last 2 years. But yeah, I just literally made the soundtrack to my life. Every person that matters to me, places that matter to me, moments that impacted me, and songs that remind me of those things, it's all up there for all to see.
That's definitely something a lot of people I know do. I'm not really a playlist person. I prefer to select albums to listen to, But I would like to include maybe like a playlist on my Spotify artist profile of like my inspirations and that.
Yeah, and that's a great thing. Like a lot of artists I've been working with have done that, and there's really cool playlists that are available that give you kind of an eye opener moment of, oh, this is who inspired that song. That makes so much sense.
Absolutely.
So we're currently in a situation where live gigs in their normal format aren't happening. So one of the things I like to talk about is gig memories. So bands you've gone to see and you were blown away by, or bands you went to see and thought were really crap, or your own gig experiences, venues you love, venues you're not so fond of, Oren.
Well, gig memories, you'd be surprised, like considering I'm someone who adores music and loves music so much. I've only been to one concert, uh, and that was the Arctic Monkeys in September of 2018, and that was just something else. Like the thrill you get of seeing these people like in front of you, because you see them in the media so much. It's almost like, are they even real? But it was a hell of a night and a lot of mosh pits and a lot of good memories. And locally, yeah, I've seen Bankrupt a few times, and they're definitely one of my favorite local acts. I remember they did their EP launch in Dive Records in town, who are sadly closed now. But that was a really great night, and I was really proud of the lads for achieving that.
Yeah, that was a wonderful EP launch. I was there before I was even part of Viking. So we were actually in the same room together, Oren, and didn't even know. That's amazing.
Small world.
Yeah, that room was pumping that night. The boys blew the roof off that. Like, that was an incredible EP launch. There were so many sound heads there. It was just so energized. And like Dive Records was just such a phenomenal venue to be able to do stuff in. Like a record store that's also got like a dive bar situation with a BYOB thing at the end. Like, it was the dream.
Oh yeah, big time.
So with regards to yourself, you're going to play Paranoid in a minute. All right, so do you want to talk about the track a little bit and give people your feelings on the track, or do you prefer people to make their own assumptions about the track? What's the way you kind of view your creativity?
Well, the way I've always viewed my music is that people interpret it how they want. I feel like it's just kind of spoiling it if I give it away. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, the title of the track, but it was just one of those things. I told you about the kind of hiatus I had from songwriting and how I got back into it in March of last year, and Paranoia was actually the first oh, it was like the song that I needed to write to get to where I am now, I think. Um, and it was just an idea that was like banging around my head. I just had this chanty like paranoia thing in my head, and finally just got it written and recorded, and the rough idea, but it was only properly recorded about a month ago.
That's amazing. And that's such a quick turnaround as well. Like, obviously, not from idea to fruition, but from I recorded this a month ago and it's out there now. That's incredible. So, how was the recording process?
Um, Great. I mean, I love the recording process, because there's no kind of pressure, especially considering I record all my music at home. I've got all the equipment and everything. So like drums, guitar, bass, everything. I all did. Sorry, not drums. Guitar, bass, vocals. I did all that myself, and my good friend Tom O'Hanlon, he did the drums. So due to the COVID restrictions, on like household visits and everything, what I had to do was go down to his house and give him all the equipment through the window and get him to do the drums, take it back home, and then mix it and everything.
That's amazing. So, you mixed it yourself then? The whole entire track is completely created by you, or did you then send it on to a producer to do something with it, or?
No, so I had all the parts, and I sent it to someone who specializes in mixing and mastering. Sorry, that was my bad. It was actually, yeah, my track Isolation, my last track, was mixed and mastered by me, but this one, Paranoia, somebody actually mixed and mastered it for me.
It's amazing. That's great. And it's amazing to see people that are so keen to and so inventive. Like, I mean, passing all the equipment over to your friend, that's not, the usual fun thing that you want to be doing, but you're actually so passionately driven to get your music out there that you've actually gone those extra little bits to do it. That's amazing. And have you always been able to like record music and make stuff like that, or is it something that you've upskilled a lot in during this moment in time, or have you always had a keen interest?
It's only really something I've upskilled in these times now. I really like, I would just, if I had ideas, they would just be done on my phone. Um, just rough ideas, And it's only in the last few months now that I've managed to get my hands on like mics, all that equipment and everything. So it's been a great learning process for me because I know what I'm doing now. Like, so I'm by no means a professional. So not to pat myself on the back or anything, but it's a really great process and I love it.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. None of us start off professionals. I think everyone should have a constant reminder of that, as we all have to go through a process in order to hone our skills. Like, if you were to look back at my first interviews, like, I was in a tent on the floor talking to By Curious. Like, I had crappy lighting, I had no microphone, I was literally on the floor talking to my friends, going, hey, you have this cool idea, I have this cool idea, let's do a thing, you know? So I think that's really inspiring that you're out there learning new things and so driven to do this. So I think it's brilliant. So I think without further delay, what even is that word? I'm going to play a taster of Paranoia for all to hear. Now, I think it's a great track, Oren, and you should be super proud. So let's do this. Paranoia. 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 Has become a part of me, it's searching for my soul. It's gone on for too long and now it's getting old. I thought I'd soon recover before it was all wrong. Will somebody please help me, 'cause I'm suffering from paranoia. So there we are. There is a short clip of your track. Everyone, I urge you to go on all streaming platforms and give Oren the follow and full attention he deserves for this incredible track that came out yesterday. How does it feel to have a track out there now? Do you know, like...
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, the lead up to it is like I'm as much in suspense as other people probably are, you know, because like and this one is like the polar opposite to my previous single, Isolation, which was just literally me on guitar and singing. This is more heavy and more me, I think. So yeah, how does it feel to have it out there? Amazing. Uh, it's just like I don't really care too much for like how many people even hear the song. You know, like I'm just happy to get it out there, and that's what makes me happy the most.
Yeah, and I think that should be the driving force behind musicians. Do you know, it's like I'm just happy to create this beautiful piece of music because it means something to me and I don't care. Like that's I think that's what it should be. Like music is a passion. Like if we can all make money off it, amazing, but we should enjoy every second of the journey. Like it's just such a privilege to do what we do, I think. So that's great. That's amazing.
Absolutely.
With regards to everything going on, I always like to ask people, who would you recommend I listen to in your area? So like local, I say local musicians. It's 32 counties in Ireland. I'm okay with that being the locality involved.
Well, I'm not sure about the rest of Ireland, but I can certainly recommend some great bands and artists from Waterford. So my top picks would probably be Bankrupt, like I mentioned earlier, Aliens in Caves or Tara Kennedy. I really enjoy her music too. Chrome Yellow, they're just something else. They're hugely underrated, I think. They would definitely be my top three. Backroad Smokers Club too. I like their tunes too.
Yeah, I'd agree. Like, there's a lot of talent in Waterford. Aliens and Caves and what she's released recently, Tara, I've known since she was a young child, actually, because I used to work with her mum. So it's been amazing for me to see the journey of Tara unfold. And then Chrome Yellow are incredible. And I can't speak highly enough of Bankrupt. So yeah, great choices. Amazing choices. With regards to your own self, a question I like to ask as well is, has there been any new discoveries about yourself during this moment in time? So a lot of people have been turning their eye to painting or gardening or just brand new things they didn't know that they enjoyed because they've had the chance to. Have you had anything like that?
Rebecca, it's hard to put a finger on. Really, it's just been the music for me. So I'm not gonna be a phony and say, yeah, I've discovered this, or like,
I
I know lots of
started
people
baking
say
7
locked
cakes a
in.
day.
I was just gonna say that, yeah, I know loads of people have like taken to baking and everything during the lockdown and that, but no, that hasn't happened for me. No.
And that's perfectly fine. And look, things are starting to look a lot brighter now. I'm really looking forward to being able to put events on again and getting on the road and just seeing where things go for all of us. So I'm very excited to see you live as soon as that's possible. And I'll absolutely come to one of your gigs, and I can't wait for everyone to hopefully attend, because I think we need to put a huge stress on this. When things reopen, Waterford, you need to support Waterford artists. You need to get out there. You need to be at the gigs, because it's been an incredibly tough time for us all. And we all need to band together to make our rising stars actually shine fully.
Absolutely, because one of the things that there's been an emphasis on during the lockdown is support local. I think people should support local all the time, especially in regards to music, But thank you for saying you'll come to one of my gigs. I look forward to seeing you in person and not through a screen.
I know, it's such an adjustment having to do everything to the screen, but it's working quite well. Between Google Docs now and Zoom, I'm coping quite well.
Just about, yeah.
So yeah, Oren, this has been a wonderful interview. I'm not going to keep you too much longer. Is there anything you want to add to the interview before I stop recording?
No, not at all, other than if I can plug my socials.
Yes.
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, they're all at Oren Byrne Music, just all one word.
Wonderful. So everybody do go check Oren out. I think he's one of the rising stars in my kingdom, and it's been an absolute pleasure being able to introduce you to anyone who has not heard of you yet, Oren. So I hope you have an incredible career. I know you have an incredible career ahead of you, and just keep creating music because you love it, because that's what it's about.
Thank you, Rebecca. I'll remember those words, and thanks for having me.